Is it? Got it. I got it. All right. Can I permission now, Shara Kahiso?
Yes, you do.
All right. Let me start. Guy, pardon me, I had a challenge network. I've been driving around looking for signal. I'm on a tree now to get the signal. That's South Africa to us, but I'm glad that you are here. Let me share the screen quickly. Is it me on the platform?
Yes, Tebu.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary.
Good morning.
It's fine. If you hear something say kutu kutu colleagues, you must know I'm falling from the tree.
Okay.
Yes, please. So, where is Vyokasi?
I didn't see her.
You didn't see her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe she logged in with another device.
Another name. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. So now, so that colleagues can hear me and believe what I'm saying, let me open up a camera for a little moment to show the tree I'm seated in, so that you bear testimony when I fall. This is the tree. Is it visible, the tree that I'm seated on? Yes. You see there am I at the top there. That's where I'm seated, guys. So
Yeah, it's visible now.
all right.
Yeah,
That's how committed we are.
Yes. I was telling Tahiso that today network it's very bad. Maybe it's the weather, I don't know.
All right. Hey, those I cannot answer the phone now, they'll pardon me. I have to start the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Buhom Rajani. I'm a current chairperson of SLYSIG. And then I'm supposed to be with Mpomi, the secretary, and Vuyoga, the chairperson elect for this particular session, term that we are in. So without any waste of time, we've already lost 9 minutes of your time, guys. So basically the purpose of this meeting, it stems from the resolution that was taken sometimes when we're in Durban, whereby we came up with Durban Declaration. And then from there, things went down. And then we went further to go to the conferences, different conferences of SLYSIG, up until we had a SLYSIG conference in Mpumalanga in 2018. And then thereafter, we know what happened. We had COVID and everything came to a halt. So now you are here, guys. As indicated, I've already welcomed you all in this particular meeting. You are here because of this invitation that is in front of you. We are glad that most of you have responded to this particular invitation. And then I'm trying to make sure that I don't waste time. Remember, we've got only two hours so that we can be able to go through this particular interaction. So now, what will be the purpose of this particular gathering? This particular gathering, which is long overdue. Number one, we want to share with the colleagues who are in school library, whether you are in a public school, whether you are in an independent or private school, wanted to share with you the development of the issue of policy in school library. Then we'll link that with the current scenario, which is a national policy library and information services. Number two, as part of that Durban Declaration, one important thing that came from that Durban Declaration was that we need to look for all the colleagues who are serving school libraries, whether private, independent, or public, so that we can work together and ensure that we become one unit and we serve the nation together. So now that is how we came to this concept of that we need to sit down as school library sector and talk about how we work together. As you can know, we've got colleagues that are in independent and private schools that will have they've got their committee that will operate the conference under their themes and all the things that are affecting them directly in private or independent sector. And then technically, those that are in the public school, they'll always be accommodated by SLYSIG under the banner of LIASA. So now South Africa is a unitary country. We want to see ourselves working together as school libraries. Hence, we want to open up this discussion. And then that's the issue of unification. And then President-elect Charlie will come in the progress of the meeting. He's still in another meeting now. Well, he'll come in here and then he's going to do what? He's going to talk about professionalization of school library in South Africa and link that with restructuring process of library information professional body, which is LIASA. So now the two things are interlinked because now, as we professionalize the sector, it will ask us to work together towards a common goal. So now these are the four elements that we are going to talk about these things. So now I know many of you have got frustrations that you don't get supported different places, blah, 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 blah. Yes, we understand those things. That is why we need to come together, put our house in order as school library sector, identify things that are separating us and identify things that are putting us together and focus on things that makes us a unity and take those things and go towards the institutions that makes it difficult for us to work harmoniously at our different schools. One such institution that I have in mind, it will be the DBE. So for us to go and explain our role to the DBE, we need to write down our activities so that they can be clear and go and present them to DBE so that they can know. But we cannot go there if on our side we are also disorganized. So now these are the four items that we are going to look at. So you'll pardon me, I'm trying to multitask here because there are people who are sending message that they can't see the link. So I'll try to multitask. Now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the first topic, which is the issue of the embracing the policy. Now, let me take you back to the history. We've been crying as school library that we do not have a policy that is guiding us as a sector. So we went all places, we got the support of the bookeries, the support of the equal education. You can call all those NPOs and different professional bodies who are trying to persuade the powers that might be that we need to have a school library policy that will guide the activities of school librarians or the operation of school libraries in general. But we could not win. But fortunately, through the process of engagement in our professional body, LIASA, there came a process of national that we need to have one policy for the sector. We should not have segments of policy in what they termed under what is called the transformation charter. They spoke there about it, operating in silos, that many of our entities are operating in silos. So now, for us to break those silos, to break those walls that makes us to work separately, then we need to have a unifying policy. Hence, we are no more talking about school library. We are no more talking about higher education policy. We are not talking about public policy, but we are talking about the national policy that will govern all the library service sectors in the library and information services in the country. So now, which means as school libraries, we are now covered. Now, the challenge is this one. Remember the process unfolded of the policy. After it has unfolded, that particular process, it was interrupted one way by the other by the process of parliament, because the policy must go to those process. And then came COVID. So now COVID messed up everything that we had. So now the process of policy, I'll try to, in the next slide, try to update you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm frustrated. There are colleagues who want to get link. I cannot help them because I want to keep you in the meeting. So now are we all together now on the purpose of the meeting? Are we all together?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Yes. All right. Now, thank you. Now, let me take you through this process so that you can understand why we are saying we need to identify things in the draft national policy that we can take to the powers that might be, so that those things can be implemented, even though we are waiting for the actual signing of the national library policy. Now, let me give you the background. At the beginning, I'll also make this particular disclaimer. These slides are taken from the Mpumalanga School Library Conference that was held in 2018. This presentation was done there by the technical team that was responsible for the drafting of this national policy of library information services. So now, this is the background that I need our colleagues to see and know. Number one, be rest assured, the Department of Basic Education, where most of us belong to, was consulted. What was the date? 21st February 2017. What happened there? The meeting, there was a follow-up meeting in 21 June 2017. And then to ensure that everybody's taken on board, an info link was created whereby people were sent questions that they must respond to those particular questions as part of making input in the development and crafting of this particular policy. And then the questionnaire was also sent to the heads of education in provinces so that they can respond to that. Now, in that process, there was an issue of research, and also there was an issue of ensuring that all the lead stakeholders, our focus here will be on education, not other stakeholders. Even DPE was consulted in terms of this national policy, and also these are the elements that were addressed: the affordability of this policy, savings, synergies, putting together things that work together so that you don't operate in silos, leveraging the resources whereby, for example, you talk about community school libraries, or you talk about centralized procuring so that you can have a power to negotiate in terms of discount, because there is power in great numbers. Those were elements that were presented to DBE. Why I'm raising these things from this particular presentation or report by the technical team? I want you to see that we are not far from achieving our goalless list. The only thing we need to do is to channel our energy and rechannel the focus of the officials of DBE to the right focus, to the right place, so that they can be able to work with us as we try to identify things that can take us forward. Meanwhile, we are waiting for that process of the final national policy of libraries in South Africa. So now NCLIS is National Council of Library Information Services. That's the body that is advising the minister in terms of issues of libraries. So now that will be their duty to oversee the implementation of this particular policy. Now, what you need to know from this particular meetings, this stakeholder meeting, what we want you to know is that by the end of this particular meeting, you should be able to go back to your province and ask anybody that you know that, sorry about this. I was checking something, then it's obscuring my view now. But, all right. It has been fixed, yes. So now you should go at your different provinces and check where is the process of establishing your provincial library and information service council. So now that will be an intersectoral cooperation whereby issues in the province can be addressed in a uniform way. The other thing is that as education, we need to see to the process where that school library sub-directorate in a DBE take a lead. You know that we do not have a directorate in school libraries. So now that should be our assignment, and to go back and check where is the school library directorate in the Department of Basic Education, and then also provincial education library information capacitation. So now that is a process process of empowerment. So now the idea is to all the colleagues who, especially colleagues who are at the strategic position, like your SES at district, your DCES, your CES at provinces, we want them to assist this process by ensuring that people in their provinces are developed so that we can be able to reap the fruits of this particular process of the policy, even though it is we address this particular process. Number one, DBE was advised that conditional grant to be set up for school libraries, just like the conditional grant that is used in the public libraries. Estimated that to set up this particular process in school libraries, we'll need around 2.38 billion in 2019, 2.2, that will increase up until 9.9 in 2026, 2027. I've indicated that this process was affected negatively by the emergence of the COVID-19. As a result, we need to go back and check where are these commitments from different stakeholders that were involved in the process. So now, this particular stakeholder meeting is trying to make you aware of this particular progress that were already made then, and go back to revive them so that we can be able to service the learners in our different schools in terms of our role as teacher librarians and as the departmental officials who are supporting them at both the district, circuit, and provincial level. I'm not sure with national level, but also at national level under inverted commas. And then another thing that which was a milestone around this particular finding was that agreement with provincial and public leads for cost reduction and resource sharing via acquisition and processing of material. This is what I've mentioned when we talk about putting together the power of buying and buy in a centralized way. You are able to buy in bulk, and when you buy in bulk, you are able to negotiate discount. And when you get discount, you are able to get more materials, and as a result of that, you'll be able to access more people in terms of that particular service that you want to provide. Right, then let's move to now. These things are there in our in the list policy. Now, the advice that was given to DB is this one: all schools must have what list, library and information services with quintile 1 to 3 to be prioritized in all, but we will start with the quintile 1 to 3. Number 2, secondary and combined terminus in school without list must receive a central list. So now here we are talking about things like clustering of certain institutions, but basically there should be 7 pieces that are connected in that are connected with an internet. And then primary schools to receive a dynamic classroom collection to be replenished every year from LTSM funds and local public library collection. So now we need to go back to that discussion and debate around the funds that are allocated somewhere written in a white paint or with a white ball pen or with a white typing machine, where there is that funds that are always allocated for library resource, but you cannot see them because you need to have these binoculars to read that particular sentence in that particular policy of LTSM. And then the issue of backlogs can be addressed in terms of creative way. One of the creative way that you can think of, the issue of dual purpose or community school libraries. Those are some of the examples that the DBE was engaged around so that it can be able to assist the different schools around the issue of the services that are provided. Now, one other important thing that we need to note in terms of this policy process, that school library information services to be available school day and after school, which simply means services must be from the morning up until late in the afternoon. That means in itself, this is talking to the availability of human resource. There's a train passing here, sorry about the noise. Then I've explained the issue of dual purpose, and then we also talk about what? We also talk about dynamic children and youth list collections. Then now, if we are joining hands with different institutions like the public library, we'll be able to do a good collective for that will address this particular clients that you are servicing at the schools. And then child-friendly retrieval and discovery system. Here we are talking about if we encourage the usage of e-books, we must be able to use e-books that are user-friendly for young people. And then at all institutions, we need to promote reading and literacy program with defined objectives and outcomes. So now, if you remember the guidelines, all elements that were found in the guidelines, they were able to harness and comb them and put them into this particular policy where they are addressing the issue of the school libraries. So now, the issue of collection and resources, there should be a mandatory, that means there should be a standard approach in terms of collection development policy across the country. We should not see in Gauteng, they are using this formula. When you go to Limpopo, they are using another formula. There should be a mandatory collection development policy that will be applied across the board with little variation in terms of addressing the context of the places. And then the issue of block learn from public libraries, that means partnershiping. So the policy is also encouraging that things to happen. Then we also talk about the national document delivery system. Remember that libraries serve as a hub of an institution. So now, anything that needs to get into the school so that the school can be empowered in terms of support the services, the library should play its critical role in ensuring that it can be able to assist. Then procurement from registered lists. That means if we procure, we should be able to procure from people who are credible, institutions that are credible. So now, basically, that is the purpose of this particular slide. Now, the most fundamental thing that is addressed at this particular policy is the issue of the human resource. Number one, the policy encourages remember, when we had this conference, we requested the members of the technical team that was drafting this policy to isolate other sectors and select only items that are affecting school libraries. So now these are items that are affecting school libraries. There are other sectors that are affected different, but now what is affecting us is here in front of you. Number one, library information services to be managed by professionally qualified staff. That means, hence, at the bullet point number 3, talk in our present agenda of today, talks about professionalization of the sector. That professionalization of the sector stems from this particular process that is a bit on holding the policy, that there should be a professionally qualified roles in the library. They must be able to teach information literacy or teach library orientation or whatever thing in the library and be given time, etc. So the internet is starting to be unstable, but we are getting there, don't worry. And then where things are not working okay in terms of budget and what the proposal was cluster of schools to be supported by a qualified teacher library. That means, let's say 5 or 6 schools are put together, they put their resources together into their library, but now there'll be one qualified librarian who will rotate those schools to ensure that all the technical aspects of library are adhered to. So now that is an incremental approach to ensure that at the end of the day, we've got that dream of one school, one library, one teacher librarian. So now the draft policy has embraced all our dreams that we had when we were marching in those days. Now, what we need to do, we need just to familiarize ourselves with the document, and from there we should be able to do what? We should be able to address powers that might be around the issue of implementation. And then the dual use, I've explained that the community school libraries where the Department of Art and Culture will come to the school. Here's the library in the school is idling, and then they put the resources and the human resource, and then the library in the school will be serving the community and the learners at the school, which is called dual use or dual purpose or community school library, whatever way you may call it. So now the other thing which is important to look for bursary incentive to bring young professionals to library, particularly around school, because currently the intake of librarians goes to the public, later they diverge to special and academic. So now as school, we need also to address this particular process. I'm trying to go through this slide so that we can have a discussion with, at least with a picture, and I'll also try to put the link on the site here so that we can, on the chat box, so that we can be able to see. Now, by that time, the policy was already accepted by the principals. When they talk about principals, they talk about departmental officials and also the ministries that are affected by this particular process. The process of the policy was already endorsed by the professional body LIASA, and then submission and discussion had already happened with the DEC, DBE, DHED, Department of Higher Education and Training. And then by the time COVID hit us, the process was already here at the stage where this policy had to go through the process of Parliament and subcommittees of Parliament so that they can go through it and check the issue, the legality, costing, into feasible costing now of that particular process. And then COVID came and hit us hard. And then the other thing, the socio-economic impact assessment to be done in terms of this particular process and check the risk. For example, when you say community school library, what are the risks of learners being attacked by adults who come outside the schoolyard? How we ensure that in the school, remember the school are supposed to be locked so that we can control the incoming and outgoing of people. So now if you are controlling the incoming and outgoing of people who are not learners now, how are they going to access that library that is the community library? So now those are a type of the things that they refer to when they talk about these different processes of assessing the risk in terms of the whole processing of this particular policy. Now, let me pause here before I go to the next topic, and then I'll stop to share and paste on the chat the link that you can see this particular document that I was referring to, that I'm going to talk about in terms of unity. Let me pause here and check with the House as to I'm trying to stop sharing. How simple me? Stop to share on your side. All right. Yeah, I can see now, guys. I know in terms of what I've said, some of us, we have seen this information that I'm talking about. Some of us, we did not see this information. But if it's for the first time you hear what I've just summarized here in terms of the presentation that was done by the technical team in the SLYSIG conference, and you are shocked of, hey guys, why didn't we implement these things? No, it's not too late, guys. We can still start. The idea of this stakeholder meeting is to ensure that we revive all the things that were affected by COVID so that we can move forward. Let me pause here as I'll be putting the links on the chat so that you can copy and save it into your laptop and check whether you have questions from the panel. I don't want to sound like a monologue present. I want to share. I know within this collective, there are people with great wisdom who can advise us how to take this process forward. Every advice is welcome. Ensure that we provide the learners as members of our community, which is called South Africa. Let me pause here in the process. Let's hear whether you have some questions around this summary and what are the things that are there in the draft policy that we can still go back and say, guys, meanwhile we are waiting for the process of finalizing this part of the process, but these things can be implemented incrementally so that by the time the actual policy is finalized, it gets us on the way forward. That is the idea of this particular meeting today, that let's start. Let the bus get us somewhere ahead. So let me pause and check whether we are going to have questions. And also I'll try to check whether I'll be able to assist those colleagues who are sending me the WhatsApp that they do not get the link. So I'll simple me. On the chat box, are there questions on the chat box?
Yes, Puti.
Okay, will you be kind to assist to read me? I'm trying to multitask. I'm trying to copy the link so that I can put them on the chat box and then colleagues can be able to copy those links and get the documents that I'm referring to here. Will you be kind to facilitate those questions?
There's a question from Sedi. It says, what kind of professional qualification do we have in mind?
Okay.
And also another one.
Yes.
From Benis, it says, what qualification must a teacher, librarian have?
Okay, they are more or less the same, né?
Yes. So the other one is from Lunga. It says, has the implementation of the role of teacher librarian been successful in the past? Why not have librarian dedicated to the library and teachers in the classroom?
Okay. All right. Colleagues, I will not be able to answer that question directly, but remember, let me put it this way. For a person to practice at a school, a person must have a license, and that license is sanctioned by SACE. Ne? For a person to practice in library, that person must have a certificate or license, in inverted comma, that is sanctioned by LIASA. Now, if I have a degree in education, let's say 4-year degree in education, and I want to cross the floor into library, the requirement will be that I need to do a postgraduate degree in library information science. And then after I've done that post degree, and then I can be a librarian of some sort. The same principle applies when you've got, let's say you have a BSc degree, and then you want to enter teaching. So now the requirement will be that you need to do a PGCE in education. And then once you have done that, then you will undergo that process of accreditation so that you can be regarded as a teacher. The same principle applies. So now I will not be able to answer that question straight because I'm not representing any university or library school. But what we are saying that the ideal person will be a person who will be able to stand in front of children and teach those children library the same way the teacher will teach a child accounting or economics or a life science in the classroom. But at the same time, that particular person, even if he's not a teacher, maybe he's a qualified librarian, but that person, for him or her to be in the schoolyard, there's a requirement in terms of say. So now that's another discussion that we need also to focus on, the issue of dual membership, because like myself, I always carry these two dual membership of LIASA and membership of SAYS. So now those are the elements that entangle the issue of the issue of the qualification. So, but in principle, that's how I will advise for now. But it's for practical and appropriate thing in the process of engagement. One of our responsibility as SLYSIG is to also go to different library schools and request them to advise us, to guide us. Maybe we call all the heads of those particular library school. We ask for their advice and guidance in terms of assisting this process. Remember, we do not have actually the designated people in our library, but we are saying, let's prepare ourselves in embracing this process of the draft national policy. So now I think in that process, we need also to ensure that we do what? We consult people who can advise us correctly. I hope I've tried to answer the calls, but currently that will be my advice. If you are a teacher, I'll advise just go and do that PG so that it can entrench you into the concept of the library. I know you've done your degree in education, but now you want to be entrenched in the philosophy and the doings of library. To go and do that particular PG so that it can give you perspective. So that will be the advice for now. But the thinking is that let's try to start the wheel. So now, so simple me. Before I answer the next question, I see. Okay. May I speak? May I please speak?
Yeah. Yes.
How will I not? Okay, let me pause here. I'll answer the next question after Sandy has advised. Thank you, Sandy. You can speak, my sister.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sandy Zinn. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm from the University of the Western Cape, and we used to run a program in which we trained school librarians. And in fact, there was a time around about 2010 till about 2014 where these were teachers who were being trained as school librarians, and it was in the days of what was called the Advanced Certificate in Education, the ACE program, which was similarly run at the University of Zululand and at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, these teachers came out with a qualification which was then no longer accepted by the Department of Education.
Yes.
So I think we must be really careful about what we are going to say to people who would like to be professional librarians in a school library. You know, we do not want to set people up for failure in terms of being recognized, in terms of their qualification. I think that would be a really sad day, but that is just on the point of what is a professional qualification that we are looking at, you know, in the long term, and then also looking at the South African context in particular, and looking at, you know, what do we have on the ground already, and what do we want to aim for, and just make sure that we are not trying to set our standards far too high. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Doctor, for the advice. Thank you very much. So are all the colleagues answered? I think these answers try to cut across your concerns. Colleagues? As simple, is everybody covered on the chat box?
Yeah, I think so. There's a hand from Ansi.
Okay. She can go on. Is it he or she?
I don't know. Ansi,
You can go on. And then on,
there's another hand
the
from
chat
Sianda.
box, colleagues, I've put the links. You can copy those.
Oh, Ansi said it was a mistake. There's another hand from Sianda. Sianda Keswa. Sianda Keswa.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity. Good morning, colleagues. And
Good morning.
yes, my name is Yanda Keswa from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I concur with Sandy. In fact, I also participated in the similar program here at KwaZulu-Natal where we were training teacher librarians, which was phased out. And I happened to do my PhD study on tracing those teacher librarians or those who qualified from the program in a way of evaluating the effectiveness of the program to check what will be the possible ways or maybe what will we take forward in terms of developing a program suitable for teacher librarians, currently. So now the thing is, the challenge was, or the challenge is, that at schools there isn't a professionalized or an officialized post for teacher librarians. So I'm not sure whether it will be feasible or possible to have to clearly define a qualification that one must have if there isn't a post, or maybe there should be a official post first, or these things need to run concurrent while we are because the universities also assisted by this body, LIASA, can then detect in terms of what needs to be covered in the qualification, But firstly, because they're teacher librarians, they need to be dually qualified because they need to have the education qualification first, then this postgraduate qualification. So in terms of the content, it can be discussed so that it is standardized across all the institutions that are providing this qualification. So in doing so, again, concurrently, there must be a fight, or there must be an advocacy in terms of officializing the post in schools, so that once these people are recognized and qualified, they are then given the opportunity to practice as teacher librarians, because what I found in my study was that those who were teacher librarians, but not in an official way, they were teacher librarians because of the qualification and the practice, but it was not officialized at schools, and the workload was an issue because now they were expected to teach more, neglecting the library duties, So now, though there were school libraries, but the functionality of school libraries was compromised by the primary workload of having to teach, So if there is an official post, that official post will also then balance the workload in terms of how much time should be spent teaching and how much time should be spent in a school library, because they still need to teach, because having a teacher librarian as having a teacher as a teacher librarian is also good in a way that they have the understanding of the fundamental of a teacher. So they will also be in a position of collaborating with their colleagues, and they will also be in a position of ensuring that the programs within the school library are in line with the supports of the curriculum, because they know what is happening within the school setting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandy. I fully agree with you. We need to have a full-time teacher librarians, but we need to have that post. The department need to have that official post. We also have another hand from Mujaki. Mujaki, you can proceed.
Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
My name is Mojaki Mahura from Free State Department of Education. Now, my input is with regard to the slides on human resources. I must point out that perhaps as a sector, we need to look at what the department and government are currently implementing. Currently, we have the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative. Now, out of that, you have Reading Champions. It is unemployed youth that are being trained by, the colleagues in the districts and province, So I'm afraid to say that the department may have turned a corner. We may be left behind a little bit. So maybe the question that we should raise is, maybe with the government, the Department of Basic Education in particular, is what happens to the youth, that leave or that exit the project? Because now we are going into phase 4 next year. So there are those youth who will be exiting, who have already exited actually the project. So maybe that's where we need to piggyback and say, meanwhile we are looking at professional, qualifications and qualified teachers. What are we doing in the interim? So just to close off my input, I'm suggesting that when you look at the presentation, it was done in 2017 with HEADCOM or Heads of Education. Maybe we need to go back and do some consultation so that we get the facts, the current facts. Maybe we start at provincial level where we get in touch with provincial coordinators, and then we proceed to the DBE, so that then we are on the same page in terms of the developments. Because when you look at it, it will be like these unemployed youth are going to be brought in, in drips and drabs like that. And then they are also being brought into the school library sector in the form of Reading Champions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mujaki. We will note everything that you said. Yes, the department need to look at how are the youth are going to be placed again in schools. Like, for instance, we are talking about the Reading Champions. They are leaving, I think, on Wednesday. We will be leaving. We are going to have another phase, that is phase 4 next year. But some other schools, they are not using it for libraries. They are just using it for another things. Thank you so much. Ebu? Chairperson? Okay, I will check the chat if there is any question.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, colleagues, thank you for those different inputs. And also it boils back the issue of the champions and all the youth that have been taken since last year. Those are the things that we need to revisit and see what is the fruits of this particular process, and try to make sure that we guide the process towards what we want. So I think we'll piggyback around on what the colleagues have said around that part of those processes, and also noting the timeline that has passed. But now the reason we started with those interactions with the technical team that drafted the draft policy, it was deliberately so that you can see that certain things are known somewhere, but an opposite is done. But I'm not complaining, but I'm just trying to highlight why I was emphasizing that particular slide, so that we can be able to be aware that people know what is happening somewhere. It's just that they do not do the right thing. So now, in the interest of time, colleagues, let me go back to the presentation. we've got the recording of this. We'll go and revisit and also revisit your questions, but mostly they were centering around the issue of qualification. And also what is important is that, remember, in terms of qualification, there is what is called RPL, recognition of prior learning. You've been practicing in that particular corner as a teacher librarian with the qualification. In terms of the his hoa is running away. In terms of accreditation, and particularly for LIASA purposes, to be a professional librarian, there is that process of recognition of prior learning. Sometimes there will be no need for you even to go and do the PGC because you're already practicing. That there are those paperwork that needs to be prepared so that they can be evaluated at the right place with the right people, and then you get your accreditation. Those are the things that we need to share with the colleagues so that they can know that this is what is happening. But I'm happy we've got people who are in the trench in terms of promoting libraries in their different library schools, and we will try to tap from their wisdom. Let me, having given this particular peek in terms of the policy, and then let me link that with the next slide, colleagues. So the next slide will be on unity, and then on unity. Let me see. You see, working on it, I'm using one hand, the other hand is holding it. I don't fall. So I'm working very. So, Secretary, can you see my screen now?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. All right. Now, colleagues, when you go to your chat box, there are 4 documents that are put there as link. The one document is that draft policy. The other one is this discussion document for unity. The other one is the IFLA guidelines and IFLA manifesto there. So now, colleagues, when we talk unity, what we are saying is simple. We have a particular document. It's a work in progress. Né? This is a developed as SLYSIG, whereby we are trying to embrace and invite all the colleagues that are practicing in school, that let's work together. So now this is a document. I'll not dwell much on it because it's there in your link, but what I can simply summarize this particular document by saying it talks to the gist that as school libraries and practitioners in school libraries, whether it is a public, whether it's an independent or private school, we've got one goal. That goal is to make sure that we release information literate learners from our schools. And those information literate, they'll go to work at university and go at university as independent information seekers, as independent readers. We are all aspiring to get those type of learners out of our hands. But now we are operating in silos. So now with this particular document, we are trying to say, guys, let's come together. Let's break these silos. Let's make sure that we put the learner in ahead of us, and then we work together from these different sectors. This is the draft document we have prepared as SLYSIG that we want to share with you. Remember, South Africa is one country. We want to have one vision. We want to have one policy. So now why on our side at schools now? People are moving forward. We have dismantled many professional bodies that were there, and then one body was emerged in the name of LIASA. Now, when we're talking policies, the thinking tanks around the library sector said, no. Let's not develop policy for each sector. Let's have one policy of the nation that will unite us all. Granted, take it. Now the question is, why now with us as school librarians we do not come together and say, as practitioners in this sector of primary and secondary schools, we want to approach our things this way so that we can be able to reap the benefit of these processes that I highlighted from the draft policy, that if it can be implemented, we will benefit as the sector. But now we will not maximize the benefits if we do not come together as a sector and work in unison. So now this is the concept we are trying to follow, the library and information ecosystem. So now let's have our system that will be talking to the main system, which is the in terms of the professional sector, which will be the LIASA as our professional body, in terms of the policy orientation, which will be the National Policy in Library and Information Services. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this in short, this is the proposal that we present to you as SLYSIG, that let's work together. Let's make sure that we take our nation to the highest heights, but we cannot achieve those high heights if we operate in silos. Let me pause here because this document is there in your link. You can click the second link, then you'll get this particular document. So now at the bottom, this is what we're recommending. I'll put only the recommendation. The recommendation number 1 that we made, remember all this information, they start back to those many meetings that we had, those marches, the equal education marches, the Durban Declaration, the IFLA that was here in Cape Town trial, where we were able to introduce the IFLA guidelines and the manifesto to DBE. So now all those processes culminated in this particular thinking that we cannot approach the world when we are house divided. So now this is what we are proposing: a unit of public, private, and TVET colleges in our country, professionalization of our sector, establishment of school library directorate, and the amendment of a DHET, because in terms of the TVET in the strategy of DHET, particularly when you come around the issue of infrastructure in the library of DVET, the writing is written with the white ink. You cannot see it clearly, the role of TVET libraries when you look at the strategy of DHET. So now we need to go there and lobby for TVET so that they can also be given the right place in the sun, and also establishment of libraries in all schools and colleges. I've seen few TVET colleges. I'll not talk about school because at least I've seen a lot. But I've visited some of the TVET colleges across the country. What was frustrating when I arrived in most those TVET libraries, you'll find that library serves as a halfway station towards the next class or the next session of the students. They do not go to the library so that they can get books. There are no books for starters or resources in that library. Number 2, there could be somebody who's manning that TVET library. There's nobody. So if they are waiting for the next class, they will not sit outside. If the sun is hot or it's raining, their halfway station will be the library in the TVET college. That's the role of the TVET library, full stop. So now, those are the things that we need to go back and try to conscientize the policy makers and the decision takers that you are killing this sector in terms of 1, 2, 3. Why it is impossible for a TVET college library to be on the same par with the engineering library? Because what the TVET students are doing there is what some of the engineering faculties are doing. The only thing, the TVET is more practical, but why can't they get the same resource so that they can be able to expand their practical? So now those are the things that we are trying to emphasize in this particular unit. And then appointment of librarians, library assistant in all these libraries, issue public, private school, TVET, and private colleges. So now these are the recommendations that we made, and then a national consultation with all the relevant stakeholders. We have started with this one. Furthermore, we'll identify through your input, we are going to listen to this recording and also go through the chat box and take all those comments that you made there. Stakeholders will be able to assist us to answer some of your questions. So now that is the process that we are going to take over up until our term is over. We hand it over to the new committee. They must take it forward. But what is principle? We must link these two processes to the issue, the process of the policy and the process of unity. We must link them together so that we can be able to talk in one voice and so that we can be able to make impact in terms of the resources that might be released by the policy. If the policy is implemented now, the way we are house divided as a sector, then we are not going to maximize our benefit. So now, in principle, this is what we are trying to put to you, colleagues, that let's unite. The world, our world, the South Africa has united in many sectors. We've united, we have put together different departments. Hey guys, somebody shake my tree here and I lost the signal. Mpumi, am I back?
Yes, Chair, we are back.
Okay. Now, what I'm experiencing.
We lost you now. Sorry for that, colleagues. Our chairperson is struggling. I think it's a network on his side. Vivo.
How simple me?
You are back now, Dave.
I was I was trying to say I'm in a city. I'm struggling with data in my hands that I've paid for. I'm struggling to connect. Imagine a person who is in deep area. How is that person struggling? So now, as we talk, colleagues, we need to broaden our thinking around those elements. What we are talking about is a serious national problem. I'm sorry about the challenges that I'm facing that frustrate your participation in this particular meeting. So I saw a hand. I don't know whether that person has been responded to or simple because I was disconnected. But when I came back, I saw there was a hand.
Yeah, there's a hand from Vivo.
Okay, let's allow the hand to proceed. Is the president elect online now?
I didn't see him. Maybe we should check with Kagiso.
Okay.
Need to check with Kagiso.
Did you say Vivo or Vivo?
It's a Vivo.
Okay, Vivo, can you go on? We see your hand is up. But on my side, I don't want to dwell a lot in terms of unity, except to say we need to work together, guys. Otherwise, we are going to miss this bus. And once we miss this bus, it's going to be difficult to catch it up because other sectors were already ahead of us. So now let's make sure that we come together. We go through this document, take your red pen, deal with it rough. Don't be generous. Don't nest the feeling of the writers. Nest the feeling of the nation. What is it that we want to achieve as a nation? That should be your focus. If you have to cancel A to Z, you can do that, as long as that cancellation at the end of the day will give us something that will make us stand boldly in front of the decision makers and be able to articulate our position in such a way they'll understand why we are here, why we should get these particular things that we are mentioning, and then we are happy with that. That is the purpose of the discussion document, is to ensure that it triggers discussion and invite input from different sectors that can assist to take the process forward. Vivo, are you covered? Please. Is Vivo covered? All right, I've shared the screen again. So is everybody covered, colleagues? All right.
Kagiso has responded. So,
okay.
yeah, the president-elect has not yet joined.
Okay, okay. So I see it on the chat here. Karin Hendrickson, no sound. Can you hear me? How simple me?
Maybe it was that
During
time.
that time I cut.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Karin, I hope you are covered. And then Maweshi, I don't understand what you're saying. I have come to assist the library at the school, even post there. I don't get some, maybe when you were typing a finger touched the send button even before you type. Can you open your mic and clarify what you are saying here so that the collective in front of me on the screen can be able to assist to respond to your question? King Maweshi, Nomsam Tsweni, can you open your mic and clarify the point that you have written there? Okay, and then who's this one? Koko Kali say, please fast track this one of human resource to save the library resources, because in most of the school there is no monitoring of library resource because it got cut. Oh, it got cut. I don't see how it says because, and then because most of the school there there's no monitoring of the library resource because
Good morning. Hi, Coco. Morning.
Morning. Do you want to say something?
Yes. The chairperson was reading my slot then. I said, In fact, we are suffering with the SES because
Yes.
of lack of librarians at school. And I've realized that we are giving lots and lots of resources to our schools, but because of lack of librarians, there is no monitoring of those resources. Then it becomes a waste of resources. Because if you give a school some resources, there must be someone who is taking care of those resources. For example, in subjects, we have LO, we have history, we have geography, all those resources, they've got teachers who are monitoring them. But in library, we just give the resources. There's no one who's monitoring them. And it's not easy to be a teacher librarian, teaching in the classroom and coming back to the library to take care of the library, to make sure that learners are ready, to promote reading in the library. It is really difficult. I was once a teacher librarian at Walter's School, but it was not that easy because I have to be in the classroom, learners are bothering you. From there, you have to come and promote reading in the library. It is not that easy, really. It is just better to hire the librarians and do the library work for school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coco. I fully agree with you. I really fully agree with you because really it's very difficult to monitor something that is not monitored in the school. So I received a message that our president-elect has joined the meeting. Welcome, Mr. President-elect. Our president-elect is going to talk to us about the professionalization of school library in South Africa and the restructuring process of this professional board. Mr. President-elect, you are welcome.
Thank you. You have to talk now.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm trying to see my slides here. Can you see my slide?
Yes,
Hello,
we can see
colleagues.
your
Can you see my
slides.
slide?
Yes,
again?
yes, your slide is yes.
You just need to put it into presentation mode.
It's in presentation mode. Let me just change it. Right, colleagues. When I was asked by colleagues to just a moment,
Yes.
I just want to see something. Okay. Right, colleagues, when I was asked by my colleagues to come and share with you in terms of the professional association, just a moment, let me close it. Yes. So I thought let me rather use this early to as a starting point, uniting the information professionals through LIASA and its impact on the LIS. Why I chose the concept of uniting, as you would see, uniting it's a verb. It doesn't say united information professionals, but it says uniting information professionals. I deliberately chose uniting because it's a process. It's not gonna end. It's just a pity now that I missed out on the discussions that were happening. I just picked the last few points, and that makes it impossible for me to be able to to understand, for instance, what are the challenges currently in the profession, but I would probably engage at the end of the session. So if you look at why a professional association, one, you need to understand that a professional body give you a sense of security and belonging in terms of career. And two, it makes your professional life much more easier and smooth sailing, because you already know who you can talk to. It creates network that normally under normal circumstances, especially for teachers. As a teacher librarian, you are the only person in school probably who has an interest in the library. So for you to be able to grow or to share ideas, it's almost difficult because you are alone. So if you belong to a professional association, then that gap is filled. It becomes possible for you to, and as a starting, also it offers you areas for development and connection, like I was mentioning earlier on, to say it makes it easier for you, because you would know that if I've got an idea, I can bounce this idea with Mpumi from Mpumalanga, or with I saw one of my oldest colleague here from the Western Cape is an academic. There is no, as you can see, it offers you an opportunity to engage not only with the colleagues at your level, but also with people who are teaching school librarian. So that's one of the best benefits belonging to professional association. It also gives you oh, my laptop is slow now. Two, and then it also having an industry association, it helps your resume, because it says you are committed to a profession. You know, teachers will tell you, if you don't have in your resume a sales number, it goes through the shredder, because it tells you, if you apply for a job to become a social worker, if you don't have the social your registration number for social work, it goes through the shredder, because you don't belong there. So your resume for organization, for certain schools, when they probably looking for librarians, this slowly is going to become a standard. If you don't have this in your resume, it will mean that you are not who you are supposed to be. And lastly, membership is in the relevant professional organization is one of the things that separate a profession from a conventional job. So at the end of the day, the time will come that will say, if you claim to be a professional librarian and somebody who pretends to be a librarian, the membership of the association will be the determining factor. We know, for instance, currently, most schools have got what we call teacher assistants. People have come in, and those people would be able, because they are paid, sometimes people think of these people the school libraries have become storerooms. So when these people come in, then they decide, okay, now that we've got somebody, maybe we can arrange these books, you know, and because it's just a storeroom of textbooks and old textbooks, but not really library of media centers. So let me speak quickly then, as LYSA as a professional body, what does it mean? So now I've already explained to you what are the benefits of a professional body. Now, when we say LYSIG is a professional body, what does it mean? It means LYSIG is a SAQA registered professional body. That the SAQA stands for South African Qualification Authority. So it means SAQA recognizes LYSIG as a body that represents the library profession. And it means LYSIG has integrity to speak on behalf of the librarians, or it has integrity to share the skills and the knowledge within the profession. And one of the things that we are pushing, what LYSIG is pushing for, is pushing to be a quality assurance partner for quality assurance in librarian training. Right, in the country, we've got 3 spheres of quality assurance bodies. We've got what we call Umalusi. Umalusi does quality assure of the FET and SC, National Senior Certificate and the FET band. And then we get what we call CHEQC, which stands for Committee of Higher Education Qualification. So CHE is a quality assurer for higher education. So these universities that you see around here, they are the when they want their programs to be accredited, they go to CHE for accreditation. And then you've got what you call occupational qualifications. Occupational qualifications are those qualifications that are qualifications of practice, like your plumber, your electrician. So you've got a quality assurance body called QCTO, Quality Council for Trade Occupations. Quality Council for Trade Occupations. So because there are so many trade occupations, QCTO doesn't have the necessary expertise to quality assure all occupational qualification. What it would then do, it would look at professional bodies to say, you professional body so and so, we want to quality assure this training. Therefore, we need you as a quality assurance partner. It's called QAP. So, LYSIG, as a librarian, as a library information science professional body, is therefore a quality assurance partner for QCTO. So later in the years, you would see as we develop, as occupational qualifications are developed in the library sector, LYSIG will be looked upon to take that responsibility. And currently, the only designation that is still registered with SAQA is the one of professional librarian. But we are currently in discussion with SAQA to increase. One of the qualifications that we are looking at, it's library assistant. We're looking at technical, librarian in technical environment, and obviously school librarianship will be one of those designations that will be looked into. So it's a process. Normally, when you go for this designation, you submit to SAQA, and then SAQA gazette them. They go out for public comment, and then only thereafter they can then decide to say this is a designation, and these are the requirements for you to be designated as such, and these are the continual professional development points that you must accumulate. What that means, you can't say I'm a teacher librarian, but you don't upgrade yourself. For instance, when I started to work as a librarian, we were using card catalog, right? But now there is library systems, library management system. So if I did not develop myself to be able to use, then I would become redundant in the library sector. So that's why the issue of CPD, you must continuously develop yourself. So as a professional association, for you to remain to have your designation confirmed throughout, you must continuously develop yourself. Attend conferences, attend webinars, read, publish, upgrade yourself by getting more qualifications, and that is what you call continuous professional development. So lastly, let me quickly just take you through the benefits of joining, why it's important for teacher librarians to join LYSIG. Over and above the things I've mentioned here on top, LYSIG offer you, and it's important to support yourself in terms of advancement in your own profession. So if you participate in LYSIG activities, it leads to your own professional advancement, and you become part of a professional organization. And because of that, it gives you an opportunity to engage with other professionals, where, like I've mentioned earlier on, that I've seen amongst you some senior academics within this group of teacher librarians. There is no way you can come across with this senior academic unless you go and study at the University of Western Cape. But LYSIG gives you that opportunity. And two, it helps, three actually, it helps to stay abreast of what is happening current, what are the current issues in your area. And therefore, and all of these things, as I've mentioned them, all these 4 points, you can see all of them are geared towards you. The first point is about your professional advancement. The second point is about your networking. It's your benefit. The third one, it's opportunities that they become available to you for your own personal advancement. The last one is it's again skills, where when you get an opportunity to build your own leadership skills, there's no way, by the time you get that call to say, please come for the interview, here is a post available for chief education specialist or CES or whatever. You already have the expertise. You would have already come across, you already know at the national level what are the challenges that the school libraries and school librarians are facing. So I'm rushing these slides because I want us to engage. And over above those that I've mentioned, these are the things that you can, tangible things. The ones that I've mentioned earlier on are more those benefits that you cannot quantify in terms of you can't point it. But when you look back, you'll see this might be part of LYSIG. But these ones are the tangibles one. You can actually see them. If you go to the website now, you see job prospect. If you are in LYSIG, already received invite to attend training, which is paid for you already. It's free of charge. You get mentoring program, you get awards that you get noticed, because sometimes in our workplace, you don't get an opportunity to be recognized, because most companies or most schools, like now, for you to be recognized as a national teacher, you have to compete against teachers nationally. But here, you can be recognized within your sector. It gives you access to resources, and so these are tangible benefits, the ones that you can immediately see when you join the association. Right. So you might have heard earlier on that some colleagues mentioning restructuring. LYSIG used to be, when we started 25 years ago, we used to be called a voluntary organization. We're a voluntary association. We are just looking at the issue of advocacy and marketing of the library sector. But through the years, we have moved to become what we are now, a professional association that is registered. Because of that, there is a need that LYSIG should restructure so that it's fit for purpose of a professional association. So the way we are looking at it, it's an ongoing discussion currently, but we are looking at all sectors should have a say in the governance of the structure. And we're looking at professionalizing the services. Currently, most of the services are voluntarily. That's why, for instance, now, my employer is undergoing an external review. So I had to do my work here at work and be part of the interview by external library directors from other universities who were evaluating my library or where it stands. So because of that reason, I couldn't join you at 9 o'clock, although that has been my wish to be participate. But because now I'm volunteering. So when we professionalize, we would have permanent people who will always be there to do the work of the association in case the elected officials are not available. And the fourth point, obviously, the whole issue is to comply with good governance. King 4 tells us this is how NPO organization like ours should be governed. So we're looking at that. And the last important point, we want to make an impact as an association. We should be able to make resources available to teacher librarians at the departmental level and engage with the MEC, engage with the HODs of respective departments. And that can only happen when we have restructured this association to a point where we've got permanent staff members who would be available to do these services. With those few words, I would like to say thank you, colleagues. I will take questions and discussions. Mpumi, I'm not sure if the chair was able to join. He did inform me that he was struggling with the network. So I assume you guys have made arrangements that you would probably consider if Teboko doesn't join. Thank you. Oh, I think it's here. I can see him now. It's here. Thank you, Teboko. I would take this discussion and I would and I would just participate. You can continue from where you left off and wrap it up with what I've presented. I think we still have some few minutes left, which would give me an opportunity also to comment on the issues that you guys have raised. But if there are specific things that you would like to ask about LYSIG, I would also be able to take those questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President-elect. Thank you very much for taking your time to grace this occasion. Really, we appreciate your time. We appreciate the input that you made in the particular meeting. So I requested the secretary to wrap the session. So I will step back so that she can facilitate discussion now, or if possible, maybe recommend that people must send information that they have. Maybe sometimes to other colleagues, it was for the first time they hear some information. They'll have to go and reflect. So now they can always send us information so that we can build on it as we shall be going forward. And then the other thing that I wanted to remind the colleagues is to go on your chat box and get all those links of information that we utilize for this particular session. I've just put there the slides that we used on the first presentation, so colleagues can access that particular PDF so that they can see the idea where we are moving. So I'll step back, and then Mpumi will take over up until to the final with your assistance, Chair President-elect. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mpumi.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much, President-elect. There's a hand from Sandy. Sandy.
Yes, sorry. Thank you so much. I was unmuting. I just want to have a question with Mr. Molepo. Just on the question of professional bodies and regulatory bodies. And I did add something in the chat, but I'm just a little bit concerned because LYSIG is, for all intents and purposes, the professional body, and it's going to be offering continuing professional development. At the same time, it also wants to be the regulatory body in terms of qualifications. So my question is, you know, when one thinks, for example, about the National Engineering Council, I was wondering where our National Council for Library and Information Services is in terms of them being the regulatory body, and where they will make a decision about the professional status. I'm just a little bit concerned about LYSIG, you know, offering a sort of kind of training as well as deciding on a regulation, which normally is given to a national council. So I'm just worried, you know, where is the National Council for Library and Information Services at the moment? What role are they playing, you know, in terms of qualification and the regulation of qualification? Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Colleagues, in case you don't know, this is the lady I was talking about. Colleagues, Sandy, right, there are two things, right? The statutory councils and professional bodies, right? So what currently we've got, at least it's still in a process of there are still discussions around the registration of NCLIS as a statutory council. And when that process happens, the idea that NCLIS has is that LYSIG would ultimately becoming the implementing agency of the so they will do the administration part, which would then address the question that you raised by Lynette on the chat about the cost of being a LYSIG member. Currently, because to run an organization is you work on your budget, and therefore based on your projected membership, you then say, therefore, if we've got so many members, then we'll require so much. But let's say now we are at a stage where NCLIS, NCLIS it's a statutory body, and LYSIG is an implementing agency. Is doing the admin part. Then it means then NCLIS will give a certain percentage to LYSIG for the operational running costs, which would then mean that members would then pay membership fee at a very reduced cost, because that would mean everybody who participates, because now if it's statutory, it's a regulation, they have it's no longer a choice. And then that's when they would, NCLIS will be the one then that would quality assure programs from universities. Currently, LIASA, the only input they can have, it's on the QCTO. They can only quality assure occupational qualification, which is offered by what we call FET colleges or what we call vocational colleges. It's up to that level, those that are on QCTO. But in terms of CHE, we for that to happen, we would require NCLES, which would be a statutory body by Department of Arts and Culture and Department of Education, because NCLES advises when NCLES was formed, it was supposed to advise both Minister of Arts and Culture and the Minister of Education. At the time, we had only one leg of education, but now that we've got 3 legs, 2 legs, I mean to say, the act has not been updated to point. So the assumption is that it advises all 3 ministers, that is those of education and those of. So in short, Sandy, what should be clear to colleagues is that LIASA is a professional association, is a professional body registered within SAQA for continuous professional development. But it doesn't, the quality assurance, it's only true as a partner to QCTO. So QCTO can come to LIASA and say, LIASA, as a SAQA registered professional body, can you assist? But the people who quality assure is QCTO. I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question or you've got a follow-up.
Oh, she says thank you. That means she managed to get everything that you tried to say, President-elect. Any comment, any question, colleagues? Any comment, any questions? Okay.
Hi.
Oh,
Hello.
okay, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Mamuhube.
Yes, it's Mr. Lemekwane from Sichejiwe.
Okay.
I attended the meeting. I joined a bit late. I was just wondering if it would be possible for you to send me the presentation because we were quite busy at school. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. I think if you can go back to the chat, there's a link there. The chairperson managed to paste the link for his presentation.
Can they resend it again because I joined late? I can't find the link now. Like I'm on the chat.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You will do that. Thank you. Colleagues, any question?
Hello.
Any comment? Okay, there's a
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good afternoon, colleagues.
Good morning.
Oh, it's still morning. Okay, good morning. It's Mamu. It's Mamu Hube Maserumule.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Yeah. I just want to, first of all, thank you. Thank LIASA SLYSIG group for taking us on board as far as the draft policy is concerned. And we really appreciate what you are doing. And we hope this will be the beginning of more of such meetings to come, so that really whatever that is in the draft, we can see it being implemented. And then secondly, I would want to know, since you engaged us from here, where to from here after this meeting? And then the chairperson spoke about working in silos and encouraged us to unite. So we would really wish to see more, like I indicated, more of such meeting, because really unity and or collaboration is power. And if you engage, mainly most of us who are working directly at school level, and the SES and the library coordinators in school, because we call them library coordinators since they are not qualified, and like they've already mentioned, they are mostly overburdened with work. So if you engage us, that's where you'll get the clearer picture of what actually is happening in our schools. And I would wish LYSIG could do more advocacy in schools, because most of our teachers are not aware of LYSIG. And right now, some of them are in the meeting. And now it's like one wishes there was a thorough explanation of what LYSIG is and what SLYSIG is, so that they can understand exactly what SLYSIG is and what LYSIG is. I do understand to some extent, Mr. Molepo touched it, but I feel let there please be more of such advocacy at school, so that teachers can support us, because really a library is a main challenge in our schools, especially the human resource. And then one other thing that I would like to touch on, in one of the virtual meetings during the COVID period, an issue of dual membership was mentioned, especially as far as teachers are concerned. They belong to say some to SADU, now LYSIG. And it was suggested that the issue will be taken further to be discussed, to see if you can, the LYSIG cannot come up with perhaps a better way of making sure that teachers fit in the association as far as membership is concerned. Okay, I think that's my comment and my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As our chairperson said, that everything that we agreed on today, we will note it down. We are still going to have more meetings with DPE. And as SLYSIG, we are going to advocate more for LYSIG. I'm very happy that today, even new members has joined us. They managed to get the gist of what is LYSIG. So I think in our meetings, we will continue to do that. Colleagues, our meeting will be closed at 12. So I will be short. I would like to say thank you to our chairperson for taking this initiative and organizing this meeting. It was long overdue, but I think as we started, we will also continue and do it. It will be so many meetings that will come. So to our president-elect, Charlie, thank you so much for taking your time and in a busy schedule and presenting to the audience about what is LIASA and the importance of restructuring. To our great audience, we really appreciate you guys. The way you managed to participate, it was amazing. Other comments and questions were very informative. We will note everything down, but because of time, if it's possible, make sure that you send an email to us, Ebuho, myself, and Vyogazi, everything that you need to say and everything that we want us to do, so that we will continue doing our best. Our motto for our president is be visible. We need to be visible wherever we are. And I've also stolen our motto from the province, that is saying we start together, we finish together, no one left behind. That is why our chairperson said we need to have this meeting so that no one left behind and we have that unity that he was talking about. Thank you so much. Tukahiso, we really appreciate you for organizing this meeting. If it wasn't you, we will not have this meeting. You managed to cater us a slot at a Zoom so that we can have this fruitful meeting. It was very fruitful, colleagues. Really, it was very fruitful. I think we will have another one before the end of this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you guys at the conference.